Alright guys, we're back with another video here. We left off with Montag and Beatty, another fireman coming from the horrific incident of the woman who burned herself in her house with her books, and she had been referencing a famous historical event in England. Beatty knew that. Beatty was referencing the Bible and making allusions to all his philosophy about why they should be burning books and so on. So that's where we left off. I'm going to highlight some stuff now about Mildred and their relationship in this next section here. So we're moving on to around page 38, as we had left off here, where they now had been driving back to the firehouse, and Montag is going to go home now. So we're sort of changing scenes here, and Montag is getting home and to his wife. So I want to highlight some things in terms of the social commentary that Bradley is making through the character of Mildred. And so remember, these texts that are these dystopian texts are making a social commentary based on the current societal trends at the time. Okay, so we talked about that, and they're also predictive and they are warning us. And of course, it's always connected with also technology. Okay, technology and dehumanization because of technology. So Mildred is going to be the key example. Okay, so she is a, how we could say, a type or an exemplar of the person who experiences this dehumanizing through the obsession and the addiction to technology. Okay, so addiction is a big factor here. And then degraded relationships. So even her own relationship with her husband is going to be really, really degraded because of her technology addiction and obsession with mass media, which was current. So mass media, I mean, put it in terms of our culture, and some things are very curious that Ray Bradbury apparently predicted about mass media. So we have almost reality TV being predicted. We have virtual reality being predicted because of the parlor walls and the screens. And in terms of relationships, well, technology component has replaced the relationships, because instead of having a relationship with her wife, she has what is called the family on the TV screens. So ironically, she doesn't know her own husband very well, and she spends all her time with her electronic fake TV screen virtual reality family. Okay, so we've got virtual reality, reality TV. We've got kind of like streaming services almost going on all the time. She's got her seashell radio buds in her ears. So those are basically predicting earbuds, right? And she's listening to radio all the time, some kind of streaming service. All these things here. Okay, so let's take a look a little bit about Montag. We won't read everything in this section, but basically Montag gets home and he's stolen a book, and now he's starting to become a little bit unstable. Okay, you got to remember, his entire worldview has changed. He's become unhinged. And there's a kind of power that comes with knowledge. Sorry, I made a spelling mistake there. There's a kind of power that comes with getting the books, but the problem is that nobody knows how to think anymore. Because of all this stuff, okay, thinking has gone down. And so even though Montag has a book, he doesn't know how to read it and really understand it properly. So knowledge and access to knowledge and how to know and how to think and how to understand that you know what you know is a whole other big problem in the text. So he's got the book, he wants to know, but he doesn't really know how to know. And there's going to be a big contrast between, that's short form for between, Mildred and Montag. Okay, Mildred is going to be the typical unthinking, unquestioning person in the society. They don't question the government. Oh, everything's good. Don't have books. They cause confusion, like Beatty was saying. Okay, so typical unthinking, unquestioning person is Mildred. She's emblematic of the standard person in the society. Obviously, Montag is being awoken to a new reality, which was initiated partly by Clarice and the illumination and the light. She was kind of the light that shone on his darkness and opened his eyes. But how about Mildred? Let's take a look here. Late in the night, he looked over at Mildred. She was awake. There was a tiny dance of melody in the air. Her seashell was tamped in her ear again, and she was listening to far people in far places, her eyes wide and staring at the fathoms of blackness above her in the ceiling. Notice she is staring blankly, vacantly, into blackness, darkness, opposite of Clarice. Wasn't there an old joke about the wife who talked so much on the telephone and her desperate husband ran out to the nearest store, telephoned her to ask her what was for dinner? Well, then why didn't he buy himself an audio seashell broadcasting station and talk to his wife late at night, murmur, whisper, shout, scream, yell? What would he whisper? What would he yell? What could he say? And suddenly, she was so strange, he couldn't believe he knew her at all. He was in someone else's house. Like those other jokes people told of the gentleman drunk coming home late at night, unlocking the wrong door, entering the wrong room, and betting with a stranger and getting up early and going to work, and neither of them the wiser. So notice that human communication has failed. Okay, technology has replaced interaction and communication. Oops. Well, sorry, interaction. And so there's this distance between them. He doesn't really know her. He's not connected. Disconnected. Millie, he whispered. What? I didn't mean to startle you. What I want to know is, well, when did we meet and where? When did we meet for what? She asked. I mean, originally. He knew she must be frowning in the dark. He clarified it. The first time we ever met, where was it and when? Why, it was at... She stopped. I don't know, she said. He was cold. Can't you remember? It's been so long. Only 10 years, that's all. Only 10. Don't get excited. I'm trying to think. She laughed an odd little laugh that went up and up. Funny, how funny not to remember where or when you met your husband or wife. He lay massaging his eyes, his brow, and the back of his neck slowly. He held both hands over his eyes and applied a steady pressure there, as if to crush memory into place. It was suddenly more important than anything in a lifetime that he knew where he had met Mildred. It doesn't matter. She was up in the bathroom now, and he heard the water running and the swallowing sound she made. No, I guess not, he said. So she's in the bathroom taking pills. That was the swallowing sound he heard. So they don't even know. It's total disconnection. They don't even remember where they first met. They've been married for 10 years. And Montag is realizing how broken everything is. He tried to count how many times she swallowed, and he thought of the visit from the two zinc oxide-faced men with the cigarettes in their straight-line mouths and electronic-eyed snake winding down into layer upon layer of night and stone and stagnant spring water, and he wanted to call out to her, how many have you taken tonight? The capsules. How many will you take later and not know? And so on every hour. Or maybe not tonight, tomorrow night, and me not sleeping tonight or tomorrow night or any night for a long while. Now that this has started. And he thought of her lying on the bed with the two technicians standing straight over her, not bent with concern, but only standing straight, arms folded. And he remembered thinking that if she died, he was certain he wouldn't cry, for it would be the dying of an unknown, a street face, a newspaper image, and it was suddenly so very wrong that he had begun to cry, not at death, but at the thought of not crying at death. A silly, empty man near a silly, empty woman, while the hungry snake made her still more empty. Okay, what do we have here? Montag is awakening. Montag's humanity and emotions are reactivating. He has basically encountered the book is a symbol, okay, that ignites life and humanity. It is life in miniature. It encapsulates life, which means it holds life inside of itself. Inside of books are many worlds of life, full of, colorful reflections when it's real quality literature. Okay, it encapsulates and makes life grow because we see life from new perspectives. So Montag actually is crying here. He starts crying at his emotionlessness, the fact that he barely knows his wife. Okay, so if she died, he wouldn't cry, but he's crying about the fact that he's so emotionless. He starts to realize how empty they are. Empty man, empty woman. Okay, so life is beginning to grow and sprout up in Montag.